What's up, Exiles? It's Hegemony, and Carl has just posted some updates on the Act 4 Awakening beta realm. I'm not going to talk about all of these because a lot of them don't specify whether it was an increase or a decrease. We'll do that at a later date. What I do want to share is the changes made to weapon types and a few of the nodes. So one of the most notable things are the reduced local crit chance on America two-handed axes. So if we take a look at the dagger axe, we can see that it has been nerfed quite significantly. It's no longer 8%, it's now 7%. Now it is still an amazing weapon, very high local crit chance, and axes have the superior weapon range. In addition, they have a lot of raw damage. And keep in mind, axes didn't have anything before. They were implicitless. So Demon Fangs has received a nerf. Still a great weapon, and I think it was the right call by GGG. The other thing that I don't think was noted was that the Ancient Blade, the two-handed sword, the crit multiplier has been reduced to 40%. So now it's a 6% local, which it's always been, and it used to be at 50%, but it got nerfed 10, and I think that was the right call. It was an insanely strong two-handed sword, and crit multiplier, once you achieve a lot of crit chance, is just insane. Hook swords have had their implicit change slowed in speed. So now we have the Tiger Hook with a 3% chance to dodge attacks versus the global defenses it had earlier. It used to be a really fast weapon too. Slowing it down allowed it to have better physical damage. So the low and the top end are much higher. It's going to make Leech feel much better. And you could probably do this with an acrobatics build or an evasion based sword character, or you could do it with RT. The crit chance is still 5% on this weapon. Another base that hasn't really been discussed is the gavel. The gavel is actually 1.05 attack speed, attacks per second on the live realm. It is now 1.15. This means a buff to Mjolnir attack speed. And it's often speculated that Mjolnir will go legacy, but with this attack speed change, will that mean that they will retroactively change the rest? I don't know. We'll find out. Another notable change is that the two passes prior to smashing strikes have had their values swapped. Their critical strike chance and the damage were the wrong way around. So if we look at the left hand side of the tree, smashing strikes, these numbers have had their numbers swapped. So you'll see 20% fizz damage and 10% crit. You know, was that really necessary? I mean, it's kind of a wash. I mean, it's nice. Doesn't really affect my opinion on Staves that much. And here we have one of the big kickers. Adjusted the crit on bows and staves, and this is what we want to focus on. So as you guys know, there are two attack-based staves in the game. One is Pillar of the Cage God, and the other is my unique, which is Hegemony's Era on a Judgment Staff. If we go and look at the bases, let me pull it up real quick. The long staff on live is 20 to 33 damage with 6.5% crit and 1.25% attack speed. The long staff on live is now 18 to 30. This is a pretty big hit for Pillar of the Cage God, and the crit chance was nerfed. However, the attack speed was increased by 0.05. Honestly, I prefer the live version a lot better. The 0.05 attack speed doesn't really justify the 0.1%. You know, making crit Pillar was already kind of a struggle. This is now kind of like making it even more struggle. And then Pillar was one of my favorite leveling weapons, and you could even do crit Pillar. So this thing has made it less appealing. Moving on to the Judgment Staff. If we look at the current one on beta, it's 65 to 121, so the top number did not change. The crit chance is now 6.60. It's actually up from 6.0. They had originally nerfed all the previous implicits on staves in general. But the attack speed was increased by 0.05. So a 0.08% loss on the crit chance and a 0.05 attacks per second increase. So pretty cool. The era is now, back where it needs to be. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the change. Some other notable staffs, I picked up all of them just to show you guys, and you could share it with your friends or theory craft on what the next best thing is going to be. But here we have the Imperial staff, which is really freaking amazing. You'll notice that we have a very strong crit chance. This is actually the best crit chance I've seen on a staff, and the live version is 1.00 seconds. It's so slow, and the crit chance is 6.68, which is the normal local crit on all staves on live realms. The physical damage is 58 to 175. They did lower the physical damage on the Imperial staff, quite significantly, but I think the attack speed is a huge quality of life to making this staff feel much better. But yeah, I think this will be the next craftable project. Also, the Moon staff is worth mentioning. We now have a 6.4% crit chance versus a 6.0 earlier, and the implicit has not changed. It's still 80 global critical strike chance with a 1.2 attack speed. Moving along, we have the Maelstrom staff. It's back up by 0.4%, and let's pull up the mirror-worthy Lathy. So on standard, there is a Lathy that looks like this with nearly all perfect stats. I'm not sure who the owner is, but it's called Onslaught Song. And if we compare the base Lathy, it actually received a nerf. Where is it? Alright, so 66 to 110, that stayed the same. The attack speed was actually nerfed by 0.05, and the crit chance has been nerfed by 0.28. Quite significant. I'm sure the person who crafted this thing, it's not going to be too happy. 0.228 crit chance locally is a much bigger hit than 0.05 attacks per second. So if you own this staff, it will affect it retroactively. Sorry, the Onslaught Song. And I guess it's worth mentioning for the Maelstrom staff, we have another one that's very good, mirror worthy. It's called the Gale Song, and it's the Maelstrom base equivalent. This one suffers from some crit multiplier, but it's still very good. Let's take a look at the base. We have 18% block implicit. That's very good. So we have an increase in attack speed by 0.1. We have a crit chance slight nerf, but up from the previous 6.0, so it's 6.4, and then the physical damage has actually decreased slightly. Overall, still an amazing weapon. 18% block chance, that is the best. I'm gonna go ahead and mouse over some of the other bases. These were just the ones that were significant enough to talk about. Either they were related to a unique that was attack based, or they have a mirror worthy copy on the live realm at the moment. The Primordial staff is another one worth mentioning. This also used to be a 1.00 attack speed staff, so even if you had really good stats, it still felt too slow. Now it's brought up to 1.15 and a 6.8% crit chance, giving it some extra love. So if you already have one rolled, I mean, it's gonna get buffed. This is definitely a quality of life. I think it's the second highest. Actually, there might be a 7 somewhere. Highborn is 7.2, It doesn't get any higher than that. Isomite staff is 7.0. Military staff is 7. Coiled staff 6.4. These are some of the lower level ones. Wood full staff 6.8. I really like how they're deciding to, give each staff its own flavor. Whether you prefer faster or more crit chance, more block, attack speed, flat fizz, and look at the variance. You see on Imperial staff it's 52 to 157. That's a very low and a very high. Whereas if you want more consistent damage, you can go for a Moon staff 64 to 133. The numbers are getting tighter. And as far as the graphics in the game, they correlate to their tiers pretty much. Alathi would be like a scaled version of this. Imperial staff and Highborn staff are kind of similar, so making it easy to remember. Serpentine staff is like a Maelstrom staff, so it's got that 18% block chance, the same attack speed. It's just scaled up a notch. So yeah, pretty cool changes to Staves. Definitely got bumped back up to where it needs to be. Now let's go ahead and look at the bows. The bows are quite significant in the fact that there are a lot of attack-based bows. One of the ones that are kind of notable is the Citadel bow change. This one received a huge boost. It got 1 off the low end and 6 off the top end. In addition, it got an increased attack speed and a 6% local critical strike chance. So I actually own a really nicely rolled Citadel bow, but it's just garbage on the live realms. But with the change to this base, it's actually going to make it very good. Imperial bow. This one is the popular Wind Ripper, Line Eye Glare bow that we all know and love. This one received a change too. This is the Imperial bow. The top end of the physical damage went up by 3. The crit chance is still 5, but it got nerfed by 0.05%. So it's slightly slower. So the Wind Ripper COC is going to be a tad slower, and the Ellie tornado shots or the Ellie shots are going to be slightly slower also. However, you do have the 10% increased elemental damage with weapons implicit now. That is something new. Before there was nothing there. So very cool, nice, flavorful endgame bow. The same thing with the Royal bow. Royal bow and this was the go-to bow for LLD, and it's now faster, slightly less DPS, 1 off the bottom end and 1 off the top end, but it still gets that 10 wed implicit. Very nice bow. Definitely a buff in the low level PvP section. And then we have the very close X to Y 43 to 65 weapon damage. This is much more consistent shots. We have the Imperial bow with the really low lows and the really high highs. This one is the median, 43 to 65. This has a 5.5% crit chance and a 1.4% attack speed with the 6% movement speed. Now a lot of people said that they would prefer to have something like this for like a poison trapper, because the implicit just is a huge quality of life, which makes sense. 6 socketing it and getting that +1, +2 would be really nice. It is worth mentioning that since the Royal Blow turns into a Doomfletch, which is a slight buff to Doomfletch, you get more attack speed, making that early leveling either COC or Ellie Barrage, Tornado Shot, whatever you want to use, slightly more appealing. Another bow that's worth talking about is the Death Bow, which is our famous Death's Harp. Okay, so if we look at the differences, we have 20 to 53. That is a physical damage decrease. However, the attack speed is what changed here. This one will still go 30 to 50 crit chance, and the crit chance will not change, but you get a much faster bow. And that was one of my biggest gripes with the Death's Harp, as it was just so slow. And since you have an attack speed that modifies the local crit chance or local attack speed, it's going to feel much nicer. Death's Harp definitely, in my opinion, got a buff. The Harbinger did not change. 1.20s, decimation, they're all going to be pretty good. The spine bow changed. This is also a significant attack-based bow because it used to only be a 5% chance. Now things like Voltaxic is much more appealing. You can go crit at another level. You get a whole 1% increase in addition to a 1/1 low and top end physical damage. That's pretty insignificant, but the 1% crit makes that Voltaxic bow that much sweeter. Maybe we'll see some more chaos critting. Some other notables: Thicket bow got nerfed by 1.55. The crit chance is still 5%. Because it got nerfed, the flat physical went up a little bit. And same with the Grove bow. These used to be the machine gunning Ellie bows, if you can manage to get them to roll properly. But yeah, spine bows, citadel bows, ivory bows. This one would be the, I guess, equivalent to the spine. Again, they did all the tiering correctly, so if the graphics match up, chances are they have the same local minus the, you know, actual physical. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys. If you guys like this video, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. Share this with your friends. Let the word get out. You know, bases changing in this game completely changes the way people want to craft the items, the play style, and understanding your advantages. This is the backbone of PoE. You know, it's like getting the bases and crafting them and understanding the build potential now. Going into Act 4 Awakening with these new or modified uniques. Keep in mind, anything that's local is likely to change retroactively. What we have seen in the past is implicit stay, with, you know, like the shields. We had Archon Kite shields that had 24%. But in this beta, you know, everything is getting wiped. There are a few legacy weapons out there that, you know, won't change until you bless it. But yeah, for the most part, I'd expect these numbers to stand. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.